Hello, BookTube. We're at the end of January, so it's time for me to do a reading wrap up of January. I know, very exciting. I did read a lot of books this month. I never talk about my number because no, like, who cares really? But I did do 33, 2 ish books this month, and I know that's a lot, but I was on holidays for most of the month. Literally, I can audiobook at work, so like I'm literally constantly reading. The only thing that's really gotten in the way from me reading more is the fact I've been doing Auslit 101, and that is just taking up so much time. And obviously, Heya time as well takes up a lot as well. But anyway, let's get to the books. What did I read? I kicked off January by rereading Red Dragon by Thomas Harris. It's one of my favorite books ever. I planned to keep going with three Hannibal books. We don't talk about Rising, but I just didn't get to Silence, and I want to get to it soon because I don't know. I want to do all of them again, especially Hannibal because I always say Hannibal is my favorite out of all of them, but Red Dragon is just so perfect and oh my god, I can't even. It's one of my favorite books ever. And but yeah, Silence has always been my least favorite of the three main books. But anyway, so I've done a lovely reread of Red Dragon. Who knows when I'll get to the other two. Then I done some Shakespeare. Me and Joshua Kribo were slowly going through the plays of Shakespeare, and I read the three Henry VI plays. This was a reread. I think I've done these plays like honestly 3 or 4 times at this point. Um, they're not my favorite, of course, but I definitely don't think these are Shakespeare's worst plays at all. Literally, I think plays like The Two Gentlemen of Verona or it, not The Tempest. I love that one. I can't remember the names of them. Taming of the Shrew and The Merry Wives of Windsor. Those three are way worse than Henry VI. Like literally, like it's probably the worst of the Henry ads, but I still liked it. I think there's some iconic speech moments. It is repetitive and a bit forgetful at times, and I feel like even as I'm just not the biggest history person, I do want to do like a standalone like non-fiction book about the Wars of the Roses because I've only ever experienced the Wars of the Roses through reading Shakespeare. So I feel like it's time I actually just pick up a non-fiction about the War of the Roses because I literally have really no clue what it's about outside of the Shakespeare plays, to be honest, as someone who isn't British. So yeah, so I read those three of Josh, and then I read some Terry Wilson for Sarah reading category romances. Um, oh my god, contemporary romance, not what contemporary, whatever it is. I feel so bad. Category romance book club. I done The Ballerina's Secret, and Her Man of Honor, and they were very lovely. I'm so due to reread category romance. Terry Wilson is an author that I yeah, because I done those two, and they're just very sweet and lovely. Pick them up if you want to try something bit of a shorter romance, but just very like lovely contemporaries, especially the Ballerina's Secret. It was just very nice. And then so I am very much excited to move on to the next author in February's pick for category romance. And then for Mama Needs to Read Romance, she does a book club where she does like Lisa Kleypas, and I read Then You Came, and it's part of like her gambling, I think, series. I could be wrong. And I thought it was really lovely. I This is my first Lisa Kleypas. I know she does historical romance, and I thought it was really nice because of the time, like the certain like era of romance. I do have a bit of iffy about the consent at times, but I know that's just me being honest. And when it comes to even like Bridgerton, there's some novels that kind of don't do it for me, and I feel like Lisa's kind of that era too with like Julia Quinn and all that. And but yeah, I can't wait to go on with book two and see what happens. But I will see if Lisa becomes a favorite romance writer because I feel like she's one of those ones where I'm just waiting for the right book to instantly fall in love with. So I read that. And then for Historical Aliens Book Club, they done Angel by Joanna Lindsay. This is Joanna doing like a Western Texas scene setting one. And It was really fun. I'm a sucker for Joanna Lindsay. She is can be so unhinged, and I kind of really love it if I'm being honest. I've read a good chunk of Joanna Lindsay. I've done a lot of her early stuff. And this was to read something past the 80s from Joanna Lindsay. It was kind of a wild to me because this was in the 90s, and it was very fun. I did laugh my way through it, and I can't wait to read more Joanna Lindsay. Said no one ever, but I really do. So I read that, and then I was like, I'm gonna do something different. You're noticing a real romance theme by now. I read the first two books in the Game Changer series. I done it with a friend. The Game Changer book, then Heated Rivalry, of course. I didn't like them at all. I thought um, they were just not that well written compared to even Joanna Lindsay, like even compared to the other romance girlies I'm talking about. I feel like Rachel Reed just dropped the ball. I feel like I didn't like the time jumps in them at all. I I feel like there was so much smart that it just overcompensated for like the lack of plot, and it just literally I wasn't invested, and that hurt the most. And I was keep going because I know there's another book in the series which is about the two main people in Heated Rivalry, and I probably will do that one too because why not? But I literally couldn't care less. I haven't even seen the TV show because I don't watch TV. But yeah, so I done those two, so I'm keeping up with what's popular. And then I also done Mama Needs to Romance. She's doing a big year long of Jane Austen, a novel of Jane Austen's every second month. And so we're starting January was Sense and Sensibility. This is a reread for me. It's I was really interested to go back to Sense and Sensibility because it's always been my least favorite Austen. It's down there with Pride and Prejudice for me. And I wanted to see after giving it a couple of years, letting it stew. Because I think the last time I read it, oh, I say it's been years, but actually it was probably 2 years ago for Jane Austen July or whatever. Whenever Sensibility was the pick for Jane Austen July, that's when I last read it, so it's probably not that long ago. But yeah, this is still my least favorite Austen. It's good, like it's really good at times, but I feel like it's just so forgettable and really it doesn't match with everything else. I feel like it gets overshadowed by everything Austen done after. I'd even take Mansfield Park or Northanger Abbey over Sense and Sensibility, to be honest. It's a lovely plot. And the fact it has two couples as well, I thought was really interesting. But again, it's just so forgettable for me. If you want me to talk about it more, I did do a ranking Jane Austen, and I let out my frustrations there pretty much. And so yeah, I reread Sense and Sensibility, and for February, I really want to do Sense and Sensibility, Sea Monsters again, because I haven't read that since high school, so I really want to do that. And then I read Barracuda by Christos Tiskolaskis. Oh, that's not how you say it at all. I've talked. He's going to be coming up in like a Oslit 101 video soon about contemporary fiction. Um, it's a heavy book about a boy who's um, has been sent to a private school because of a scholarship for swimming, where he's destined to become an athlete. He goes through bullying and just like isolation and pressures from his family. Then the novel time jumps throughout his life till he's 30, and just how he didn't live up to the goals and expectations he set for himself. And it's heavy, it's a lot, but my god, did I love it. I am due for a reread of The Slap because that's his big book, but this could be my favorite if he's being honest. But yeah, Barracuda was it hits hard, and I really do love it. And then I done some Roald Dahl because I was like I wanted to do. Everyone talks about his children books, right? And I was like, why don't I do some of his adult books, like his short stories and all that? So I picked up his debut novel, The Gremlins, by because well, the Disney people had the story already, and they sent Dahl to write an adaptation of it. And you probably think it's like the monster gremlins that get angry or whatever. I've seen the Gremlins once and didn't care for it, but this is set during World War II with pilots instead of just everyday people, and I thought it was really nice. It again doesn't have the charm that you would see in later Dahl when he became, who he became. And it was fine, to be honest. And it was an interesting debut because it's weird to think that he first wrote for Disney. And then I was like, I'll keep going. So then I read Over to You, which is his first adult short story collection. And oh my god, I was horrified by what I read. There is none of what makes Dahl great here. It is literally him really, really trying to be an Ernest Hemingway. Like short sentences, like men's fiction. And it just, talking about the war, and it just wasn't for me. It was so short, which was good. But yeah, it was it was fine. It wasn't that good really. Then I read The Forgotten Rebels of Eureka by Claire Wright. I've talked about this in Auslit 101 to get my thoughts on it. I had to reread it because it had been a while. So I done that too. And then I done A Killer Kind of Romance. This is a new release by Ledzina Loroni. This is it's so funny. This is probably my favorite new romance book of the year so far, because there's been some low points, trust me. This is literally about a girlie who has a podcast about crime, and she gets involved in like a murder mystery pretty much. And it's so funny. I did laugh at it. It is so tongue in cheek, and yeah, who thought I would actually like a podcast romance? It's kind of like when I read Abby Jimenez, which was had a Redditor romance. And I was like, why do I love this so much? It's such like a, if you put it on paper, it's something I wouldn't really like, but I kind of did. So I don't know really, but I thought A Killer Kind of Romance was a really fun novel. And then I done a romantasy. I done A Vow in Vengeance by Jacqueline Rodriguez. This was a mid, at best, romantasy debut. I can't even remember it, to be honest. Again, I'm still searching for my favorite. I just want to be a romantasy girly, and it's never clicked, and I need to keep trying, to be honest. So I moved on to that. Then I done Sometime Never by Roald Dahl. This is his first adult novel, and this is literally like a nuclear war story, and it literally came out in the 40s. So maybe it's kind of reminds me of the rise and fall of the Third Reich, when people was like, "Oh, you're being too soon with it." That's how I felt like with Dahl being like talking about nuclear fallout and fiction, so soon after, and it wasn't that good. Again, there's literally no plot to it. It was kind of boring. Then I read Graceless Heart by Isabel Abinez. I know she wrote YA or whatever, but this is her, I think her first romance, like adult debut. I historical fiction Renaissance. This girlie has magic, and she's got to enters like a sculpture competition to like save her brother. It was fine. It did let me down towards the end. And then the biggest flop of the month was I read on the day it came out, Half His Age by Jeanette McCurdy, and I have thoughts because I loved I'm Glad My Mum Died. I was like Harley girly growing up, and oh my god, this novel sucked. It's honestly one of the worst things I've ever read in my life. I don't even know where to start with it. I feel like Jeanette was trying so hard to write My Dark Vanessa, and it just went awful. It went so bad. I'm kind of scared of it. And it's interesting to see, because it's not worth talking about the plot really, but it's interesting to see how little buzz this book really has. Like, I looked on Goodreads, and it barely has 20,000 reads already, and I was expecting at least like 100k, because this is her big follow-up to I'm Glad My Mum Died, which is such a big, book talk non-fiction book. But just to see it kind of tank, I don't know how it's done in sales, but it just was bad, and I hate the cover. Avoid it. It's just done nothing for me. And then I did reread My Dark Vanessa after that, just to compare it to, and My Dark Vanessa, even though I do have problems with the pacing of My Dark Vanessa, I still think it was so much better than whatever Jeanette was trying to do. And so I done that. And then I read Someone Like You by Roald Dahl. And this was the first short story collection where you could see the glimmers of who he'd become as a writer. This has got the famous story about the wife who kills her husband with a leg of lamb or whatever it is. And the police just, I can't remember what happens exactly, but the police don't think of anything of it, because they're like, you can't kill someone with food, because she hit him over the head with the meat so hard it like caved in his skull, and everyone was like, you can't do that with meat. It must have been like a lead pipe. so she gets away with it. And like that's the main story, but there's another couple great ones in here. Pick it up if you want. Um, like dull, like that. His early dark, like humor, but more like an adult setting rather than children's fiction. And yeah, so I really like Someone Like You. And then, girl, I went through a phase where I was like, I'm gonna read. I've got to count this: one, two, three, four, five Tessa Bailey novels in 1 week. I was not okay. Because I was like, because Catch Her If You Can, her big next sports romance came out on sometime in January, and I was like, I'm gonna do that. But then I'm like, I want to be up to date with her, at least her like major romance stuff. So, oh, I done Fix Her Up, I done Catch Her If You Can, Love Her or Lose Her, Tools of Entanglement, and Unfortunately Yours, because I read the first book in that series. And out of all three of them, I liked Catch Her If You Can the most because the sports in it was fun. Outside of that, these are pretty mid novels, if I'm being a bit honest. I love Tessa because she's just funny at times. Like what's going on in it is just so bizarre that I don't think you get in any other. Like the cringe level is just so uniquely hers, and I kind of really love it. I can't look away, to be honest. I am very excited that I read an interview with her that her book that's going to come out later this year will be her doing time travel. Take my money, take my money. Tessa Bailey doing time travel. Oh my god, I need that in my life. But yes, I'm officially up to date with Tessa Bailey. And so but yeah, it was a long 5 days. I was like, I'm gonna audiobook these at work, and I done them like every day, and I didn't really burn out. So I done that. Then I done for Peace Love Books and XO. She has a Nora Roberts book club that I'm not a part of, but I love Nora, so I'm joining in anyway. And she done True Betrayals, which was a reread for me. This was one of the not probably one of the first Noras I read, but it was like early on. This is a lovely reread for me. It's a good, solid standalone Nora Roberts thriller. This girlie, she thinks her mum's died or whatever, and she gets a letter in the mail being like, "Hey, I'm alive. Let's meet up at my ranch or whatever." And she has a freak out at her family because it's like, "Why didn't you tell me?" or whatever. So she goes to the ranch and she falls in love with like the ranch assistant. And while that's going on, someone's going around and murdering all the horses, and it's got a bit of a murder mystery to that. And also, her mum's backstory gets intertwined in this chaos. And again, another really solid Nora Roberts thriller. I really liked it, and so I read that. And then the last two books I read, because I also done some Heya as well, but I've talked about that. You're gonna hear that in Heya time or whatever. But the other books I read, I gotta get this up on my list, was First Last Kiss by Julian Winters. It was a fine gay rom com for me. It was fine. It was one of those books where, wow, I done that at work, and it passed the time, but it didn't leave an imprint on me. And so it was good. I've heard of Julian Winters, but I've never read anything by him. So I'm glad I at least got the one book. I've done the one. And then the last book I read yesterday was A Spell for Drowning by Rebecca Fierrier, Ferrier. And this is a fantasy light romance debut, and it's Celtic, interestingly enough. So I haven't read much of that, and it's literally like this coastal like village town setting, and like this girl's trying to rescue her sister with like dragons and not dragons, but like sea serpents and all that. I thought it was really interesting. I love the premise, but I feel like again the pacing and it just didn't click with me. And again, maybe it's like a rough debut thing, but yeah, there's promise maybe, but I'll give it more time. It's a book I need to process more on. But yeah, I read A Spell for Drowning, so I done another debut, and that is a bit of the books I've read in attempts to round up everything I read in January. I read a lot, but I had a lot of free time, and it was really fun. So yeah, let me know what you think about the books I've read, and let me know what you have read in January. But yeah, Thank you so much for watching BookTube, and I will see you next time.